What's up, guys? So for today's video, it's something I'm really excited to talk about because it's something that I think has a lot of benefit to understanding, and I think it's something that people don't really talk about. I don't think personally I've seen much on this or seen many people discussing this. And the phenomenon is kind of how we become attracted to people and how we choose our friends, our romantic partners, and the people that we spend our time with. And what I believe is that we are generally most attracted to things in other people that we really admire. When we see somebody else doing something that we don't necessarily feel like we could do, or acting in a certain way that we feel like is best, but at the same time we can't seem to do it ourselves. I mean, the most basic example is pretty much everyone is attracted to confidence. Like anything that you read about what makes a person attractive, it's like, oh, you have to be confident, you have to be confident. And why is that? Why is everyone attracted to confidence? Nobody finds it adorable when someone's meek and, shy. Well, I think the reason that most people are attracted to confidence is because most people don't feel quite as confident as they would like to. Even the people preaching how to be confident, somewhere deep inside, probably feel somewhat slightly insecure. And we are kind of all dealing with a different level of insecurity, but none of us are particularly pleased with our current level. We would all believe that we should be a bit more confident. So when we see a person who seems very confident and charismatic, we're like, it's somebody we want to be around, unless there's other things about them we don't like that put us off them. But if we see someone we genuinely like and then they exhibit this quality, it's a really big plus. And I think in terms of our friends and our romantic partners and everyone that we want to spend a lot of time with, we're seeing things in them that we would really like to see from ourselves. And in a way, you've probably heard before, you are the sum of like the 5 people you spend the most time with, who you surround yourself is who you become. A high tide rises all boats. We want to be around people who inspire us and bring out the best of us, and who are kind of free in all the ways that we're not, and strong in all the ways that we're weak. Because ultimately, we're trying to better ourselves in life every day we go, and we want to connect with people and spend time with people who will help us be who we want to be, who will help us come into being the us that we picture. And one thing that I think is really important to recognize this is that basically when we see somebody and we're very attracted to them, not necessarily in a sexual way, just like we want to be around them, we want to get to know them, we want to become friends with them, maybe in a sexual way, maybe not, whatever. We are seeking out in a way a teacher. We're seeking out someone who we think can show us, it's very interesting to us, how they've come to be this way and how they have these admirable traits that we would like to internalize in ourselves and foster in ourselves. The thing is, if we're not aware that this is going on, some really, really bad things can happen. Because once you've brought someone into your life, into your circle, into your everyday interaction, and you've made them a big part of your life, you can't really ignore that self-development work that you were wanting to do. Because now you have this glaring reminder of all the things that you wanted to internalize in yourself and work on yourself and become more of yourself. So if you see this person on a very regular basis, whether it's a friend who's handling their business the way you want to handle yours, or a person who's handling social situations in a more confident way like you would like to, or whatever this thing is that you admired so much in this other person that caused you to, fixate to them and make them a fixture in your life, now you actually have to work on it. You can't really ignore it anymore, because you can't pretend it's not something that's out there. You can't pretend it's impossible. You can't pretend it's not a thing and not a way to be that you would like, because it's in your face now. You see it's possible. You're reminded it's possible every single day. And when we don't have those reminders, it's easy to just kind of accept the things about ourselves that we maybe don't like and deeply would want to change as just things that aren't changeable, and not beat ourselves up too much about it. But when we know that it can be different, and we have that everyday, really real, tangible reminder that we don't have to be the way we are with things that we don't like about ourselves, and that we could grow and become more the way we'd like to be, well, now we actually have to freaking do it, We actually have to take those steps to try to find out what it is that allows these other people to do the things that we admire and would like to do ourselves. We can't turn a blind eye to it anymore because it's in our face. And a lot of times we get to know people with the intention that we want to learn these things from them, that we admire these traits, we want to see where they come from, see how we can build them in our own life. But then when it actually comes time to do that, it's a lot of effort. And people don't always have the courage. They can't always find the daily motivation. They can't always stay focused on the course. They don't even necessarily realize that was their goal. And now it's like they're unhappier than before because they're feeling constantly reminded of this growth they wanted to do, that there's a reason they haven't done it their whole life. They're scared of it. They don't know if they can do it. They don't have the confidence. They don't have the vision. There's a reason generally why negative things about yourself, things that you don't like, that you'd like to change, are still there, and it may have perpetuated since childhood. There's a reason that you haven't already taken the action to curb these things. So those reasons persist, but now we also have this persistent reminder, and we can't ignore the problem anymore. And this can create a lot of stress. And we really only have two choices in this situation. We can kind of man up and find out and really take an interest in how these other people we've surrounded ourselves with are handling these situations and how they're doing the things that we want to do, and ask questions and be curious and figure out how to finally start bringing these changes into our own life. But when we don't know to do that and we don't realize that's what our choice is, a lot of times we can unintentionally do something that's really, really ugly. And that is change the things in the other people, or try to make them more like us so we don't have that reminder anymore. So if you're spending your time with somebody, who is, I'll give a silly example, but say you have a buddy who's really fit and you try to get them to go to the gym with you because you want to get fit too, but then you have all these reasons that you weren't fit in the first place and you weren't exercising. So now this person's become your friend and you start encouraging them to come out and, drink and party with you and, sit home and, watch things on TV and stuff. And now you're taking away the thing in them that you like the most, that you wanted to become like them, because if they become like you instead, either way, you can relax again. There's not this constant reminder of this change you wanted to make. And that's a really stupid example, but there's so many deep and meaningful and important examples. If we're spending our time with somebody who maybe has a bit more positive outlook on the world, and we want to have a positive outlook ourselves, but we can't seem to get there, then we might kind of infect them with our negative views of the world and try to, change the way that they see the world to be more like us so we can feel more comfortable and relaxed in our worldview. And I'm not saying that's intentional, and no one's worldview is necessarily right or wrong, but the thing is, we're forgetting that the whole reason we were attracted and wanted to spend our time with this person in the first place is because we liked their worldview, and we saw things in it that we wanted in ours. Maybe they were more brave, maybe they were more courageous, maybe they saw the world as more wide open, more optimistic, and we wanted to feel that way ourselves. But we don't know how to get there, and we've never known how to get there. And when this person's in our face, being that way in front of us, we can't ignore the fact that we want to get there and we're not getting there. But if we can somehow, now that we're spending all this time with this person, merge their worldview down toward ours, then that reminder goes away and we can relax without having to actually make the difficult changes that we actually wanted to make. And the worst thing about this is that when we do this, I think it's unintentional. I don't think people ever do this kind of thing on purpose, because it's really damaging. It's really destructive, because we kill the things in the people we care about the most, that we love the most about them. And then we end up, very much attached to a friend or a partner, but we've influenced them to not be the person that we actually loved so much, or were so enamored or admired so much. We've converted them to be like us, and now we don't feel like there's someone who can teach us things. We don't feel like we have anything to learn from them. We don't feel like they're the kind of person we need to surround ourselves with, because we've made them like us, but we still want to grow, and we still want to surround ourselves with people that can help us get there. But we don't realize that we basically found a teacher, but then destroyed their lesson plan. We brought them down to student, and then we're like, okay, now we need to find a new teacher. But it's the pattern. If every time that you see somebody that you admire things about them, when the time to actually make the growth comes, when the time actually comes to start transmuting the qualities you admire about them into yourself and to start fostering them for real, if you always feel too scared to do that and you can't find the ways to do that, and you subconsciously start challenging them to the point where you erode what it is you loved about them, not only will you never grow, but you will do serious, irreversible damage to people that you really cared about and you didn't mean to do that. And you'll take the things away from people that you like the most about them, which will leave them much worse off because you've damaged their kind of brightest light. And you've also damaged your relationship with that person because what you actually saw in them is gone now. So I think it's just really, really important to bring some awareness. Like, ask yourself, look back through your life, through the people who have meant the most to you, your friends and your romantic partners, and potentially anyone that came into your life, coworker, anyone who was in your life for a period of time where they were one of the most important people. Ask yourself what it was at first that you really, really admired about them. Like, what it was that you saw in them that made you want to spend time with them. And then ask yourself, which way did it go? Did I recognize that and kind of get to see where it comes from and how much of it I can impart on myself and kind of leave it alone to shine and figure out how to kind of shine in that way a little bit myself? Or over time, did I keep challenging and kind of playing devil's advocate to those qualities to try and see if I could break them away, to reinforce the way I felt and like to feel better that, haha, okay, nobody really feels that way. No one's really able to do this. They were just pretending, but now I've, shown them it's impossible, and now I don't feel bad that I'm not able to do it. Which way did it go? And hopefully you're able to say, oh, it always went the good way. Hopefully you're able to say that. But if you're not, don't beat yourself up, because nobody does this shit on purpose. It's not an intentional thing. It's just when we're faced, in our face, everyday reminders of the changes we want to make, we can't ignore them anymore. And usually there's a good reason why we hadn't made them already. We're scared, we don't have the courage, we don't think we can do it. And as good a teacher you have, if you don't have that drive to do it, belief in yourself, you're not going to be able to get there. And no one succeeds in spite of themselves. And when you're not going to succeed because you can't take the leap of faith, you can't push yourself, you can't kick yourself in the ass and go for it, you're not really left with much of another choice. You're going to be constantly miserable, being reminded of what you wanted to do and how you wanted to grow. You can't have your unfulfilled dreams staring you in the face every day. So it's kind of human nature that if you can't find the strength to grow in the way you want to grow, that you will subconsciously take action to remove any kind of reminder of the growth you wanted to make, because we don't want to spend every day mulling over what we really wanted to do but didn't. We have to sell ourselves on an excuse. And when it comes to growth and things that we think are impossible, we have to kind of start to either do them because they're possible or prove that they're not possible. And a great way to prove that they're not possible is to kind of remove any examples of it being possible that are directly in front of us. So I hope this was easy for you guys to follow. I know I didn't use too many concrete examples, but I can give a few more. A lot of times you might admire about somebody else that they're, seemingly maybe not as worried as you, and then instead of figuring out a way to worry less yourself and try to see how they're able to worry less when you have a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry, you try to kind of like put worries into them, because then if, it's like you feel like your worries are right and someone else not having them is going to bother you, because then you're like, why do I have to worry about this shit? But if you can convince other people to worry about the stuff that you worry about, then you get to feel validated and like your way was right all along. You never have to make this uncomfortable leap and this uncomfortable change to learn not to worry about things you might have worried about your whole life. I don't want to stereotype, but who has ever known like an overbearing, worried parent, I've experienced it a lot in my life, not necessarily with my own parents, but, with friends of mine growing up, and like, you always had someone who's like worried about everything. And what are they doing? Why do they do that? They want to get everyone else to worry because they don't know how to stop worrying. And if they can make everyone worry about all these, real issues that they worry about, so they must be real, if they can get everybody else to worry about them, then they can chill. They're like, see, all these are the things you really have to worry about. You know, you really got to worry about all this shit. And if I can just convince everyone around me, you really have to worry about this, and I can see all these people worrying just as much as I do about all this stuff, then I'm chill. Like there's no growth for me to do. I've done my best service to the world. I've made sure nobody else missed all these things that I was worrying about, and they know to worry about them too. Because the alternative, when you see all these people not worrying about stuff that you worry about, is to go, shit, how do I stop worrying about this stuff? And that's way, way harder than convincing other people to worry about it too. Because if you tell people things enough, especially, I mean, in this example, a parent talking to children, like children will believe their parents, you know, most times. It's a lot harder if you're, you know, someone who's lived maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 years with these beliefs and these worries and these concerns to learn from your 8-year-old kid who doesn't seem worried about this shit, you know? That doesn't, like a lot of people, they just won't be open for that. But it's kind of the dynamic that's always happening in interpersonal relationships. We love the things about people that we would like to be ourselves, and then we either have to take the uncomfortable action of internalizing those things and doing some self-growth, which is never easy, or we have to kill them in the other person so we can stop thinking about it and just feel like we were right all along. And I don't think anyone intentionally does the latter, but I think the latter happens a lot more than the former, and that's really sad. So my goal in this video is to bring attention to this phenomenon and encourage people to look at why you love the people you love. I mean, obviously there's other things you love about people, you just love them, but like, what is it that's so impressive? What is it you admire so much? And like, honor those things, love those things, try to find out where those things come from, and ask yourself as well, what do the people who love me love about me? And then keep doing that, stay true to it. Don't ever let anyone take it out of you or push you away from that course. Find out what you admire in others, and find out what other people really admire about you, and try to learn and be curious about the methods and practices and ways of thinking that allow people to demonstrate the capabilities that you admire in them, and try to help people see how the things they admire about you come about, how you're able to do things that they might like, how you're able to think in ways they might, you know, find beneficial, and share that, because that's why we surround ourselves with such great people. And it'd be so wonderful if when we surround ourselves with great people that, you know, great growth happens from that, rather than the opposite, which can be really destructive and leave for bitter feelings and, you know, kind of moving backwards and people becoming less of who they want to be and not more. So that's just all I wanted to bring awareness today too. I haven't really seen a lot of videos or articles about this. I don't think people talk about it because I think it's something that, you know, people go through life pretty unaware of it. But I think it's so important because, I mean, who we spend our time with is like what our life is, you know? Interpersonal connection is probably the most important thing we have during our experience on this earth. It's what makes life meaningful. People who don't have, you know, interpersonal relationships die way, way younger than people who do. And people who do generally always report it's the most important and fulfilling thing in their life. So we got to look at what's going on in these relationships and make sure it's the positive and not the negative. So that's what I have for you guys today, and I hope you guys will take this video to heart and take some looks at your relationships and people you care about and figure out how you guys can learn to help each other, not harm each other. So best of luck, and thanks for watching.